Yes, guys, we asked ChatGPT how Enzo Maresca can fit Lavia, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez into the same Chelsea team, and you're not going to believe what we've come up with today. Buckle in, let's go. Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. If you watched yesterday's podcast, you will know that Harry and I were just having a great time discussing how we can fit as many Chelsea players as possible that we like personally into our Chelsea lineups. And this isn't just about making a team of players that we like. It's about trying to formulate a strategy here for Maresca. If he wants to have a couple of days off, you can come to the George Benson Football Channel, indulge in some Harry and George, and we have come up with something here today that I think is absolutely going to blow your minds. All right? Don't let your mind delve into the gutter there at any point. Harry, we're literally filming this straight off the back of the podcast, but we have got a 3-2-4-1 formation. That might have already turned a lot of people off, and we're talking about turning you on here. Yeah. So we might have already lost you. But if we haven't, just reel out the players, just say the players in order, and I will visualize this on the screen with some graphics for you. But you go and tell me how a 3-2-4-1 looks for Chelsea, and we will discuss why this is actually unbelievable. Go ahead, my friend.
So unavoidably, we have the big Sanch in goal. The back three is Marc Cucurella, Levi Colwill, and Wesley Fofana. The two is Caicedo and Lavia, the man that we've been trying to somehow get into the system, alongside another man, which is Enzo Fernandez, who's going to help to make up that front three. What is it again? A 3-2... What is it? A 3-2-4-1?
4-1.
So make up that front four, I should say. So we've got Palmer in the 10 alongside Enzo. We have a right wing back in the name of Malo Gusto or Reece James in an ideal world, but we're not going to go there right now. And on the left wing, we have Pedro Neto. Up front, we have Nicholas Jackson. That's the lineup.
That sounds pretty interesting to me, to be fair.
Yeah.
But obviously, as a result of having a team like this, I think let's start with the players that miss out. If obviously Gusto and James are unfit, which is currently the case, Pedro Neto, I think, can do that right wing back role for sure, which would then leave a space on the left for a Sancho or a Mudryk. I almost said Sterling there for some reason. I would personally I'd like to just delve into this conversation regarding the idea that Gusto and James aren't fit for whatever reason. Do you think this is something that we could see potentially even against Aston Villa? Do you think Chelsea have got enough stability within that lineup that we have put together here to play against a side like Aston Villa for a start? Like, do you think this is something that, as much as it seems like an exciting idea, because we've got Enzo, Lavia and Caicedo in the team, which has always been like, will this work? Can this work? Does this work? Do you think this is something that's actually feasible, or are we just plucking crazy ideas with no real backbone behind it? What do you think makes this work?
Okay, I'll quickly say what I think the weakness is, because I think we can get that out of the way, and then we can talk about why I think it's good. So the first thing that I think is problematic about it is the dilemma it creates, which is at the minute, we've got a lot of central players who aren't getting to play, 10s and central midfielders. So Enzo, Felix, and Nkunku are not getting enough minutes right now. And this formation essentially comes at the expense of a wing player. That's basically what you've got here. So then we have a new issue, which is that we have so many wingers who are not playing in the form of Sancho, Mudryk, and Madueke. So that's the first thing to say. But what I really like about this system is that I think you don't lose very much in terms of having players out wide, but you gain so much in terms of stability in the middle of the pitch, but also the tactical flexibility of it, the players that can cover in different roles and positions, both going forward and going backwards. I think this has more to it. So obviously, Lavia coming into that central position of the pitch alongside Caicedo. This is an issue we keep talking about. We spoke about in the last pod, that there's a problem at the minute against every team that we play where we can get a bit overrun in the middle of the pitch. And it's how do we shore up that position without taking anything away from the final third? And I think that that is what this system allows in particular. It does put Cucurella into a more reserved role, but I still think against smaller sides, against sides that won't overwhelm us attackingly, there's still opportunities for him to go up into the midfield and play the ball more, maybe even overlap at times because he does cover so much ground. But then the players that are in and around him can drop into those spaces that he leaves. And I think that's the point. Whenever someone else attacks, as long as everybody's working together, as long as you've got your awareness about you, you can go and fill in and cover those spaces. But I love that five at the back, that setup of that back three, all really solid players defensively. And then that two in the middle, it's a really solid base and foundation. And then I look ahead and I think we've not really lost anything in terms of attacking potential because of the fact we've got a right wing back who can go and hold the touchline, hold the width. We've got Cole Palmer playing just inside that position. He's as good at dribbling as anybody. You've got Enzo, who we now know can go into that half space that Gusto normally takes up and provide a lot more going forward. And it solves that issue. But also, as you rightly said, we can have Nkunku in that space. You know, if we go, right, we want to be a bit more direct. We want to make sure we're scoring goals. You know, we don't mind losing Enzo's control of the game, his passing maybe as well, or even Felix can go and play in that role too. And then on the left, you know, at the minute it's Neto, but that could easily be Jadon Sancho. That could easily be Mudryk if he finds his feet. I think the big loser in this system is Noni Madueke. I think for me, getting Lavia in the middle of the pitch is probably the most important thing. To try and find a way to get Lavia in the middle of the pitch and maintain that attacking shape. What do you think?
I think Noni, there's a way that this could still work with Noni. It is obviously a bit more risky because you don't want Noni Madueke lining up as a right back. So if you're playing against like a Liverpool or a Man City, this doesn't really work unless you've got a fully fit team. But what I love about this side is when it comes to the defensive qualities of both Wesley Fofana and Levi Colwill. Fofana is great at occupying that right centre-back position and kind of allowing a striker to either cut inside, in which case you're going to have Lavia dropping back into a centre-back position to support, and Colwill's going to be there. But if the attacker tries to take it on towards Wesley Fofana's right foot, I back him. Exactly the same on that left-sided centre-back position, where Levi Colwill, if Cucurella is advanced, can move over to that left centre-back position because Cucurella's further forward and deal with it. But I also trust Marc Cucurella so much to be able to do the attacking work and also positionally be aware of where he needs to be to help the team in those defensive areas. But I think for me, the way that this lineup would work, and again, this is a pure speculative video. It's a hypothetical scenario. But if you imagine like...
Yeah, thank you, ChatGPT.
Thank you, ChatGPT. If you imagine Romeo Lavia's role in this game is never to be running out wide. Because on the right side, if you have it lined up with Caicedo on the right side of that midfield, Caicedo really does incredible work defending that right side of the pitch. That's where he feels more comfortable. He's right-footed. He can slide in, win tackles, and get the ball forward as a result. If you've got someone like Noni there as an out ball, then you've got Noni isolating a fullback 1v1 again. He can also do the work rate thing, which we know. Gusto as well. But it means that with this team, if you want Malo Gusto in there, which I really think Maresca loves Malo Gusto.
Yeah.
What this team brings you and what it alleviates is that pressure for Gusto to arrive in that number 10 position. Because now, we saw it against Leicester. Enzo Fernandez arriving in the box, scoring a goal. This is the way I think Enzo Fernandez needs to develop under Enzo Maresca in order to make sure that he's playing as much football as possible. Because I think Maresca personally, and this is speculation, but there's a lot of stability behind what I'm about to say. I think Maresca knows that in order for Chelsea to win more matches, Lavia and Caicedo will be the partnership. Enzo Fernandez is like a £100 million problem, but offers loads of solutions.
Yeah.
And this formation allows Enzo to be that guy on the edge of the area, arriving, shooting, which as much as I don't think it's his strongest point, he can develop that, and he's definitely more acquainted to that role than a Malo Gusto, in my opinion. I also think what's very interesting that you mentioned as well is that with Nkunku, Felix, Sancho, there are so many different options here, depending on the level of control of the game that Chelsea could have, where you could either take out a wing-back and put in a more direct, like, winger, or if you need a bit more creativity, Enzo can drop out of the team, or direct creativity, I'll say here, and Nkunku or Felix can come in. It keeps the goals in the side. That's what I like about this lineup.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, look, the whole purpose of this has been to I speculated on the last episode, how the hell do we get Lavia in the side? Like, we need to get Lavia in the side. And so we've gone to ChatGPT and we've said, right, replace Badiashile with Lavia. How do we line up? The second we got the output and I saw the team, I was like, is that 11? I was like, is that only 11 players? I thought there was 12 players on the pitch when I was reading it because of the balance I feel like you get from that system, from that group of players. But the thing I do just want to say is that it doesn't have to be forever. It's either or. I just think this is what is the beauty and the exciting thing about this Chelsea squad right now is there's multiple different ways we can approach things. I remember last season feeling really like there was only one way we could go about playing the game. You know, it was that standard shape. There wasn't really much exciting and creative thinking that could be brought to it. The fact that we've got so many options within one group of players is, and you know, I see them as really elite options, really, really strong options. It's so exciting, and this is what's making the content so enjoyable to make right now as well, because there's so much room to speculate into systems that you know, they're not just pure fantasy. You can genuinely see them having their own benefits and working. So I'm really excited about it. And when the tough times come, we will have difficult runs and difficult periods this season. There's other things to try. We don't have to go out and sign a player to completely change the way we're going about things, but also stay within the style of football that Maresca wants to play. So I think in that sense, it's really exciting. The fact that Jackson's up front in both of them just is a testament to what, you know, a shoo-in he is now. You know, there was conversations before about, you know, do we have Nkunku? What do we do? But I think that this is a really interesting approach to things. And I think that whilst the wingers definitely are the players that lose out here, there are going to have to be periods where different groups of players are battling a bit more for less positions, because we can't go through a whole season with players as good as we've got in those 10 roles not getting the minutes. So yeah, I do understand this is unlikely to be the way Maresca goes, because he does seem to value those wing players so much. But just when I look at it on paper, I
think you can still get the wingers in there, Harry. I really do. I definitely believe that there is a way that this formation, because of that central defensive stability that Lavia would bring, simply by occupying that middle spot where, yes, he's a ball progressor. Yes, we know he likes to pass it forward. He likes to get things moving in the transition. But the fact that he can just sit in there, and then you've got a ball-playing centre-half like Levi Colwill that can make those defence-splitting passes. What I see with this team, particularly with Jackson's movement, I don't see any issues here with there being an out ball, which is why I do think that if James and Gusto are going to be injured for a while, which of course we might know a bit more about that by the time this video comes out, but I think Noni has shown me enough this season that in terms of, like, let's say work rate, because defensive work as an attacker, you don't expect them to win every single duel. You don't expect them to make every interception and every single tackle. But if that's not going to happen, they at least have to be doing the work to start with and getting into those positions and understanding their movement up and down the pitch, which I think isn't an issue for Noni or Neto particularly. But with having that overload in the middle as a result of this team, I think this actually solves a lot of the problems that we have right now, which is that even with Caicedo and Lavia as a pivot in the side, we actually deal with this like overrunning and being played through a lot better, I think, because Caicedo has just turned up and leveled his game up this season. Yeah. But Enzo is also a very good defense-minded player too, positionally. That's where he likes to be. And I think with this kind of side, you've got different players that can tuck in or even tuck out in various situations. So Enzo isn't necessarily going to be seen here as an out-and-out 10 on the edge of the box, only looking to pick up Lampard-esque kind of snapshots and rebounds or whatever. I think there's a lot of flexibility. Cucurella also, because of how Colwill steps over, Cucurella can absolutely join in those attacks too. And I think the interesting thing about Chelsea in comparison to a lot of the other teams is that when you look at even Liverpool this season, there's not really much that you look at on the bench and think, well, stylistically, it can be very much like for like. Players can come in and do the same jobs. But I don't see many teams that have the tactical variety. Also the flipping manager, by the way. Yeah. Maresca's a flipping genius. And I think this is why this video is almost a testament to him in a way, which shows like, yeah, he knows a lot more about football than we do. He probably won't use this. And a lot of people in the comments may also think that it's a flawed system. But the potential within this Chelsea side with the variety of players that we've got is actually so flipping exciting. And it makes doing a video like this one even more enjoyable. But do you think actually that this is something that we could genuinely see?
Yeah, I do. I think the reason we won't, as I say, is just because I think he loves his wing players. I know you just mentioned there that, okay, so let's just imagine it. We've got 3 centre-backs. We've got the 4 in the middle. One of those, of course, there is a wing-back who can drop back into a 4 defensively. So let's say that you take out James or Gusto from that right wing back position. You put Madueke in there instead, who you don't really want him defending 1v1 throughout an entire game in that position there.
But that's where Fofana steps in.
So exactly. So what I was going to say was in that, but then the problem with that is then you open up a space in the middle. So then that's when one of your middle players has to drop back into a centre-back position. Or you don't do that. You have Fofana staying as a centre-back, and then Lavia or Caicedo steps across into the full-back areas of the pitch and does defensive work there. A bit like, Thomas Partey sometimes plays as a right-back for Arsenal. So I can see a world in which that would work. I think the point here is that it does change the way we press a little bit, because oftentimes you'll see Lavia or Caicedo going all the way up the pitch to press. The role that one of them or both of them would then have to take up would be one that's a lot more defensively, positionally disciplined, that they can go and plug holes and spaces that have been left. It works.
I say that's Lavia and let Caicedo be that box-to-box.
Yeah, exactly. It does change the principle slightly, but I think that to get Enzo on the pitch in that role right now, after what I saw last game, after what I've been seeing from him lately, man, it could be worth it. It could be worth it, George.
It was always going to be a problem for Maresca to have £100 million player in Enzo Fernandez not play. We know how good Enzo can be. I know that I've been slated, and maybe you've been slated on the channel in the comments for just like maybe undermining his abilities, undermining his qualities.
It's all fun. Look, it's all fun.
Football is absolutely a results-based business, and it's also player-dependent. Like, Palmer's come under scrutiny recently because he's not been scoring as many goals. He's a product of his own success in this element. But I think Chelsea Football Club and the investment that was made in Enzo Fernandez was so much money, and I do think it would always be one of those situations where if for whatever reason Enzo Fernandez left, I'm so sure that wherever he goes, he will do very, very well. I don't think Chelsea wasted 100 million. I think Chelsea spent 100 million on a player that was probably always going to be relatively difficult to fit in to the Premier League and into a system. But to wrap this one up, I'd say that Chelsea have the manager here who has balance, fluidity, and player tactical versatility at the forefront of every decision that he makes. You look at this squad, you look at these lineups that have been flicking through on the screen throughout this video, and there's absolutely a world where you can see something like this happen. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about it in the comments down below. I know that there's obviously flaws. There's flaws in every single team. Otherwise, football would be boring. We would win every game. We'd win 38 out of 38, and there'd be no point even watching. Although that would be quite fun, wouldn't it? But anyway, let us know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. If you're not subscribed to Harry, I don't know why not. The link is in the description. Check him out. It's the second video we've done together this week. Loads of content coming up. Heidenheim, Conference League, Aston Villa Premier League. We're all here for it. I'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye, everyone.